This week, my friends and I went on a week-long break to Rovaniemi, Finland, a small area right on the edge of the Arctic Circle. We had a whole bunch of activities planned for this trip and lots to do. Until we didn't. This trip had been in the works for a while. As with most group holidays, actually getting something booked took far longer than it should have. My last trip with my friends was in 2023, so this one was definitely overdue. By some miracle, the trip made it out of the group chat and we made it, but it wasn't without its challenges. Among my friends, I'm the one who likes planning, which means I'm usually the one organising everything. But this time we thought we'd switch it up, and let the least organised person in the group take charge. Despite a panic a few days prior about potentially not having flights, everything was sorted and we were on our way. We treated ourselves to coffee and cake on our way to the airport, as you've got to start the holiday off on a high. And of course, no holiday would be complete without the obligatory airport spoons, brekkie and pint, because everyone knows there's no judgment at the airport. Our esteemed planner made the lovely decision to book us with Reindeer, where we got exactly the experience you'd expect. Cheap flights with fresh crumbs on the seat as a free perk. We landed in Rovaniemi at possibly the smallest airport I've ever been in, and were greeted with the first of Santa's many business endeavours. We arrived late on the first night, so we just walked around, got our bearings and took in all of the local sights. By the time we'd done all that, it was pretty late, so we went for our first traditional Finnish meal. The next morning, we headed into town to explore a bit more and get some food in. To our surprise, it wasn't as cold as we expected. We packed a ton of thermals as it was forecasted initially to be below -10 degrees, but in the end it was just a little below zero, so we didn't end up using them. After that, we went out for a bit more exploring, finding a beautiful frozen lake with a nice looking bridge. However, most important of all, there was a ton of fresh snow, which we used in an all-out wall, causing absolute carnage while other tourists were just trying to admire the view. It was then time for our first activity, ice go-karting. We got there a bit early, so we said hi to some reindeer and went sledding down the self-proclaimed tallest sledding hill in Rovaniemi. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to record and drive, so I have no footage of the go-karting. I did, however, capture this riveting shot of a road, so you can use your imagination. That evening, we went snowmobiling and I couldn't record that either, so you'll have to take my word for it about it being good fun. All of the activities in Rovaniemi seemingly came with a free barbecue though, which was a pretty nice touch. The next day, we went on the best activity of the trip, Husky Sledding. It was at a husky farm where they had over 100 huskies and other working dogs, and it was quite the sight to behold. The dogs were both adorable and incredibly well trained. I don't know much about dog pack behaviour, but there definitely seemed to be a pecking order, as when the lead dogs were brought out, all of the other dogs went absolutely crazy in what felt like some sort of summoning ritual. When it came to the husky sledding itself, it was much easier than expected. The dogs wanted to do nothing but run, and if you didn't use a brake, they'd absolutely bomb it. The dog you can see at the back right here was apparently a racing dog, and every time we stopped, he'd look back at us, almost as if to say, "Come on mate, what's going on here?" The hardest part about the activity was actually the filming part here when I wasn't steering. I nearly bloody well gave myself frostbite from the wind chill. The scenery in this area was absolutely stunning. This part was actually in the Arctic Circle, so it had 24-hour daylight. After the sledding, we had the chance to feed the dogs, play with them, and learn a bit about them from their passionate owner. As with every other activity we did, we had a barbecue at the end with some sausages, and I've got to say, I think this one was the best. With the husky sledding coming to an end, this was when the holiday took a turn, as we decided to go out for some drinks. My friends and I share a singular brain cell when we drink, and we have a crippling inability to do anything in moderation, so the night ended with us basically crawling back to our Airbnb after a really messy night. Unfortunately, that meant we were absolutely hanging the next day and didn't make it out to what was meant to be a frozen waterfall tour. We spent most of the day feeling sorry for ourselves in our Airbnb, trying our best not to throw up. Later in the evening, we did manage to make it out for food. Since we are all on a strict diet, we made sure to only eat the most nutritious food Finland had to offer. And that wrapped up the holiday. We headed back to the UK, went to sing a lovely sunset on our return, and it was quickly back to reality. Day 1 back in the UK was straight back to our typical British rain and grey skies, and I spent the day catching up on admin and trying to get some routine back after eating my entire body weight in Burger King whilst in Finland. That's all I have for this week. What did you think of my trip to Finland? Did I do it justice? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.